Carla here, also known online as the Beer Babe, at Beer Babe.
My name is Mike. I am the Robin to Seacoast Beverage Labs Batman. Can be found on Twitter at @Meredith.
Hey, I'm Norman. I'm known online as the Beer Nut or Real Beer Nut on Twitter.
Hello, this is Sean Jansen from TwoBeerGuys.com.
Brian from Seacoast Beverage Lab, and this is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. Oh, and guys, we are live. What's going on? It's Brian from SeacoastBeverageLab.com, and this is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast for Wednesday, May 28th, 2014, episode number 79. We are one away from the illustrious 80 show, and going to try to find an 80-year-old brewer to have on the show. So if you know anybody, tweet us at SBL Podcast. Maybe they won't be doing the tweeting though.
Oh yeah, what's this Twitter thing? but we do have a very we have a fresh brewer guest on our hands today that we're going to be talking to. So stay tuned for that. But I'm drinking the Berkshire Brewing Lost Sailor IPA out of the can. Picked it up in at Table and Vine in Massachusetts this weekend because whenever you stop in Massachusetts, that's the beer store to go to. Besides the Spirit Haas in Amherst, big fan. But yeah, it's going down pretty good. Even though I just opened it, I know it's going to go down pretty good. Spoiler. Sean, we'll start with you. What's happening?
Well, and Brian, your beer is soon available in New Hampshire also at the same time.
Oh man, the hunt is no longer.
Exactly. I'm Sean Jansen from TwoBeerGuys.com. I am drinking a Tinder, which is a smoked Rauch beer from Uinta Brewing in Salt Lake City, Utah, who was also one of our former guests.
Do you check into that on Tinder or Untapped?
Swipe right.
I'm yelling. Never mind. Norm, what's happening?
Hey, what's up? Norman Miller, Metro West Daily News at Real Beer Nut on Twitter. And tonight I'm drinking a Jack's Abbey Cherry Barrel-Aged Berliner Braun. Picked up at the brewery this afternoon.
Well played. How's it going down? Good?
Oh, it's fantastic. I picked up a bottle on Saturday at Julio's Liquors.
Ooh.
And when I stopped at the brewery today, I picked up a couple more because they were so good.
Most excellent. Mike, what's up? Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Mike Meredith, at Mo Meredith on Twitter. You notice that we do have the hashtag NHBeerBook sporting in my in my signature today. Trying to spread the love there. And tonight I'm drinking an Old Faithful Finest Kind IPA by our good friends at Sweaty Nose.
I was like, if you have one or more of my goddamn wedding beers in your fridge, I'm like, an old...
Three left.
3 left. All right, good. All right. Like, get rid of them. All right, well, let's roll the red carpet. Carla can't make it tonight, but she'll be back next week. But we do have one of the newer upcoming brewers in Mass. We have Keith Antle of Medusa Brewing Company in Hudson, Mass. How's it going, Keith?
Very good. Good evening.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Scottish 80 shilling, which is my own. So
nice.
Fair enough.
Well, is that one of the recipes that you're going to let us try when the brewery's open?
Oh, definitely. This will probably be the inaugural brew.
Cool.
Very cool.
It's kind of a forgiving style, so that'll be kind of our calibration beer.
Excellent. Norm, you wanted to start the show off with a little something, real quick?
Well, before we get off into your show, we just wanted to take a moment. I don't know if everyone had heard, but the founder of Rogue Ales today, Jack Joyce, was announced that he had passed away. A legend in the brewing industry, and we just wanted to have a little toast to honor Jack.
Bring it in. Cheers.
Cheers to Jack.
So, yeah, that's crazy news because what was it? A couple weeks ago, Geary's, was it, Sean? I forget. It's Gritty's.
About a month ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So it stinks, but we must press on in the light here. So 1 second. Train break. Right on Skadge.
This show is brought to you by...
Usually at this time the guest is talking or someone else besides me, so I can mute it. But we're going straight to a train break today, folks. And that's with another sip. But so we got a couple people in the chat room. So if you guys are watching live, head on over to sblpodcast.com. Sean is running the chat room questions. And again, new brewer, so we got tons of questions, and I'm pretty sure you guys do as well.
So let's hop into it. So you're based in Hudson, Mass. Do you want to give us a kind of a background on how you got into brewing and kind of the progress of where you're at now?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from mainly a home brewing background, and I've probably been doing that for uh, eight 8 years or so, give or take. And kind of normal progression. Started as an extract brewer and kind of moved on to all grain. And after a while, I started entering competitions and doing very well, kind of right off the bat with that. And then I got kind of addicted to competitions for quite a while, and I was brewing 50 batches a year at my house. So brewed a lot of styles, won a lot of awards, and got to brew with people like Ben Roche at Wormtown, Dave Richardson at Gardner, John Curtis at the Haverhill Tap, and this just was kind of like the next place to go with it. You get to the point where home brewing volumes just aren't really that satisfying to do anymore, and I just want to make more beer.
Nice. And what's the scene, or is there a scene in the Hudson area as far as breweries and beer pubs go?
Yeah, well, Hudson's had the Horseshoe Pub for quite a long time, which has sort of grown to the 80 tap bar that it is now. And they've been 80 taps for quite a while, probably
Wow.
before anybody, at least outside of Boston, was doing that. So it was already kind of a destination for that. And in recent years, it's sort of started to expand where you have a place like, the Rail Trail Flatbread, which, generally has 20 very solid crafts on tap. And just seems to be the direction that kind of the town's going. It just has like a ready-made audience. And I've been kind of a regular at those places since they've, you know, been doing the good work.
Awesome. And are you kind of going into this venture alone, or do you have a couple of assistant brewers, co-brewers?
Yeah, well, I have two partners. There's two other principals in the company, so I'm kind of the head brewer. And then there's also Tom Sutter. He is the business manager, and will also be brewing as well. He's been home brewing for 20 some odd years, so he's definitely knows what he's doing there. And the third partner is Keith Sullivan, who is a former coworker of mine. And we kind of came up with the idea of this over carpooling over the course of several long months at our current, my current job, his former job. And he's going to be kind of the front end manager, the general manager, running the tap room, you know, and just kind of dealing with the customers on a day to day.
So it'll be kind of a tasting room, growler fills and such.
Yeah, tasting room, but even more so, I would even go so far as to say kind of more of a brew pub without food.
Cool.
We're gonna go right for the farmer series pouring permit in Massachusetts, so we'll be able to serve our own stuff by the pint. We can sell growlers. We will have a very small kitchen just for little snacks and things, but people are also welcome to bring their own food. There's some places right in downtown Hudson that'll deliver. So we don't really care. We don't really want to get too involved in the restaurant business. We just want to
Right.
make beer and serve beer.
I'm guessing the pizza place right next door is probably the happiest place in the world. When you told them that you're going to let people bring food in.
Yeah, they were about ready to carve a hole in the wall. And, we drew the line at that, but there's a few, there's a lot of great places right on the kind of main strip there, and a few places that don't even deliver are considering having a small delivery menu that they'll run down to the tap room as well. So there'll be definitely food for people who want it, but we're really going to be in the business of making and serving beer.
Can you describe like how many beers you plan on having on tap? I know you talked about the beer drinking now. You were the co-brewer for the Pro-Am Porter for Wormtown at what was it, bronze or silver at the
Yeah.
GABFO? Is that going to be something you're going to brew again, and maybe talk
Oh,
about a little some of the beers you plan on introducing and starting with?
yeah. The porter will certainly, I think, will be in a regular rotation, and as far as like the number of taps, it's going to ebb and flow. We have 8 serving tanks. So we're kind of, the brewery itself is kind of more of a brew pub sort of construction. We're going to have serving tanks. So 8 of those. We'll have a cold room with some additional draft lines. So as tanks get low, we'll keg those off. So I think I would say you'd probably see between anywhere from 8 to 12 taps at any given time. It depends. We'll probably do casks as well. We may, do some barrel aging. So there may be some miscellaneous versions of beers on. It's ultimately the system's built for about 20 lines.
Nice.
So we've got some room for expansion as well. So.
That's extremely unique too, to just basically be a brewery with 20 lines and basically only selling beer, maybe some snacks. That's a pretty good niche right there. Is having a ton of lines for one brewery.
Yeah, in my current job, my day job anyway, I travel a lot, and I first saw this in the town of Arvada, Colorado, which is kind of just outside of the Boulder area. And it was just basically what I've described. It was a brewery that people went to and drank pints, but it wasn't a restaurant. There was really no food to be had apart from what you would order and bring in. And it was kind of surprising at the time because the place was just packed pretty much every night, and they had very reasonably priced beer, and people would bring in pizza or order pizza, or they would bring in a meatloaf from home. They didn't really care what they brought. So it got me to thinking, because I really like the brew pub model in terms of engaging a little more directly with your customer base as opposed to just shipping it all out, eggs, and maybe not necessarily interacting with the people who are primarily drinking your beer, or worse, not knowing how a distributor is handling it, or the end point is handling it.
Yep.
So, we wanted to start with the foundation of the tap room and kind of this, central Massachusetts customer base, and kind of go from there.
I mean, Norm, you're not that far from Hudson, right?
Oh no, I'll be taking the long way home at least once a week from now on. Once they open. I actually have one quick question. We just completely forgot to get out of the way. When are you guys scheduled to open?
Yes.
Yes. Well, this is the interesting thing, and it mainly has to do with licensing. And I would say that we will probably see a period where we are open for growlers before the tap room proper is open. So like most of your breweries around here, where you can stop in and get a growler filled and get a small 2-ounce sample or what have you. There'll be a phase where I think that's where we're going to be at while we're waiting for the pouring permit to be approved. Massachusetts, it's such a long sequence of events where you need to do your federal licensing, and that's going to take, generally 2 to 3 months, and it's been longer because of the government shutdown that occurred late last year. So we received our federal license, and we're in the middle of the state process now, but we can't apply for the Farmer Series pouring permit till the state license is approved. So in the end, licensing becomes a 9-month process from start to finish. So we'll certainly try to open the doors early, just to sell some beer. And
so you're not being classified as a brew pub? Is it a multi or hybrid license that you're actually targeting?
We are going to be a farmer brewery. We are, as far as the state is really concerned, the primary difference between a farmer brewer and a brew pub is whether or not you are going for a full malt and liquor license for service. So the way it was described to me is if you do a brew pub license, you are then also eligible to apply for an all alcohol license, like any brew pub restaurant really, where they sell wine and spirits. If you don't need to sell anything other than your own product, it's probably better to go for the farmer brewer license because it's much cheaper, and it's just kind of the way they've set that up.
Is there a difference that allows you to sell for take home or either self distribute versus a brew pub versus license that you're going after?
The letter of the law is a little hazy as far as brew pubs and self-distribution. There are certainly several that have self-distributed kegs to other restaurants. I've asked the question multiple times and gotten different answers as to exactly if that was the intention of the way the law was written for the pub brewery license. Um, it's kind of like all these things are just written by different people, and the syntax isn't really the same. The farmer brewery thing is pretty straightforward and gives you a lot of leeway to self-distribute. So certainly we'll be sprinkling some kegs around some of the places in Hudson and probably some places in Worcester as well.
Nice.
So,
Oh, sorry.
would you say that? I mean, we're always curious, like when with our guests, we always like to ask, like, what's been the most like satisfying portion of the creating your own brewery process, but also what's been the most challenging thing you've faced so far? I mean, would you say the licensing and the paperwork of getting it rolling forward has been the most challenging, or is there another element that tripped you up you didn't anticipate it?
Yeah, the licensing process is I guess it's fairly straightforward. It's really just a long wait that you can't really do anything about.
Mhm.
The federal side of it is very streamlined. It occurs almost entirely online. It took us slightly over 3 months to get our federal license, but everything was submitted online. We had a phone call and some email communications, and then it was pretty much here you go, you're ready to go.
Excellent.
State is going to be a little more involved. So I can't really comment. The state hasn't really tackled the bulk of our application yet. So maybe I'll have a nightmarish situation there. I don't know yet. Hopefully not. The trickiest thing is really just in a place like this where we're doing a fair amount of build out, and you're working with different contractors and architects and structural engineers, and it's just a matter of really trying to keep your budget as realistic as possible, and also realizing that none of these people really are on your timetable. They have multiple projects going on, and you just have to keep them reined in as best as you can and keep everybody on target. A lot of it is there's not much you can do about it. The contractors can't do things until the architect drawings are done. A lot of that can't be done until the town building inspectors approve the idea. Permits have to be pulled. It's a lengthy process. It's really hard to predict, exactly how long some of these things are going to take.
Right.
So you just have to build in a lot of leeway for that.
Have you gotten the bulk of your equipment yet, as fermenters and such?
Actually, yes. We got that stuff ordered fairly early, and pretty much all of it is sitting in a warehouse right now in Natick, about a quarter mile from Jack's Abbey. Um, and it's a rigger's warehouse. These are the guys that are gonna come in and drop it into place for us as well. So we
Awesome.
figured while we're doing all the flooring work and we can't really accommodate the equipment, they're just gonna stow it for us until we're ready for it. And but yeah, that stuff is ready to go. We certainly won't get held back by waiting for manufacturers.
Can you tell us a little bit about the system that you bought,
Yep,
or that you're going to be setting up?
sure. It is a 7 barrel system, and the manufacturer is Stout Tanks, which is a somewhat newer manufacturer, who started out making kind of boutique kind of homebrew gear, and started making a lot of 3 barrel systems for nanos, and then 4 barrel systems, and now he's getting into the 7 and 10s. Um, so yeah, it's a 7 barrel system. Initially, we will have 6 fermenters and 8 serving tanks. Um, the system kind of has a lot more electronic control than is probably custom, because it's an electric heated system. So um, it's got a full touch panel, computerized control, remote access to the system. I can start heating strike water from home. Things like
Nice.
that. Save time basically.
Definitely.
Um, so
Excuse me.
that's pretty much the general layout. The system's kind of built out to expand eventually to add another 4 fermenters and another 4 or 5 serving tanks as needed.
So they're gonna come and set up the equipment. As far as training and such, do they help show you kind of how their equipment works as opposed to others?
No, we have to wing it.
Oh, perfect. Hey.
Yeah, electronically, myself and a partner of mine, we're IT professionals, so we're generally pretty good with working our way around, and the three of us are handy enough to kind of put this stuff together. And my partner Tom's brother is also a metal fabricator, so that will help tie any loose ends together that we come across. So we're in pretty good shape for that.
Nice. That kind of ties in with, well, I mean, it might be a kind of a future question that you might get from our fan Zach. He's asking, so far, what has been the main challenge making the jump from home brewing to starting a brewing company? But you might not be at that stage yet, or are you?
I'm sure I'll encounter something that I
Sure.
I didn't predict.
Yeah.
So far, I've had so much exposure to small breweries already. I've brewed, I don't know how many times, 15 or so batches with Gardner Ale House. I had a job several years ago that gave me a lot of time and freedom, so I would
Nice.
drive down there at 5 in the morning and brew with Gardner and just get a sense of, is this the sort of thing I actually want to do now that you see the unromantic aspects of the job, like cleaning things and getting grungy and humping sexy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just the stuff that I've done at Wormtown and the Tap, and I've just seen the way different places do it, and that wasn't as much of a concern as in making that leap. I feel fairly comfortable with that.
Norm, you're saying?
No, I was just going to ask maybe if you could describe what the inside's going to look like. Seating on the tables, how big the bar area is. Is it going to be, like describe what people will see when they come in?
Sure. So we're right on Main Street in Hudson, just kind of surrounded by other, local stores and restaurants. So it's a nice high visibility spot. A lot of traffic goes by that front door. And what we have is what used to be 4 individual storefronts in a sort of a 6-unit building, and we've got basically the whole middle of it. So we've got about 5,000 square feet of space altogether. When you walk in the front door, you'd basically be right in the sort of tap room, bar room area, and there'll be a bar that is probably about 20 seats or so, and kind of a main seating area that would probably seat somewhere in the vicinity of 40 to 50 people.
Nice.
Thereabouts. And there's a lower level that is sort of one of the units that we've taken a wall down to have some additional seating down there as well. So ultimately, we're somewhere in the range of 90 to 100 seats. So it's a good sized place.
It's a lot of beer to serve too for 90 people.
Yeah, I think the logic too is that since we're not a restaurant, we're not going to be kind of operating in this sort of 11 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week sort of thing. So it's probably going to be a couple of weeknights that will be open, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, or something along those lines. So, if we're very busy, we may have to throttle things a little bit with the hours of operation. But that's why we've built in some expansion as well. From the bar area, there will be a large windowed sort of area where you can see the entire brewery floor. From the actual bar area, it's mainly you just see kind of a row of serving tanks, but there is a corridor that you can kind of proceed down and just pretty much see the entire brewery space through glass. We'll have some shelving out there. You can hang out there with a pint if you want. And you'll be able to see pretty much everything that goes on through those windows.
Cool. Now, I guess one of the most important aspects is the beer you like to drink. Are there any beers that you've kind of used as inspiration for your own home brews?
Stole my question.
Oh, did I really?
No, I got a modified part off of that.
Wait, so question A.
Yeah.
Okay. So like so existing beers that
Yeah.
were inspirations. Yeah. Um, just from a lot of different areas. I would say by default I do tend to gravitate towards hoppy beers if I don't really think about it too hard. That seems to be what I like. American Pale Ale is probably my favorite style. So there are a couple examples I like. I really enjoy Trogs. Pale Ale is one that I enjoy a lot. IPAs, Wormtown Bee Hoppy is kind of I think the hallmark around here for me anyway these days. And even getting into the double IPA sort of style, I tend to prefer the something along the lines of a Pliny, which to me is that sort of pint size drinkable double IPA as opposed to a really stronger Fuseli kind of 10-ounce pour type beer. So those are pretty strong influences. I do like a lot of English beer as well, especially like Fuller's and some of the stuff that you pretty much only see at Nerax around here. But so I enjoy a lot of that as well.
Nice. Shano, go ahead with part B.
Yeah, you may have already sort of touched on it with the beers you mentioned, but along the same route of inspirations, do you have like brewery heroes or people that you inspire to be like that you would sort of model Medusa Brewing off in that direction?
Yeah, I mean the first brewer I ever met was Todd at Cape Cod Beer, quite a long time ago when he was still brewing at the Highport restaurant, and it was probably the first time I ever saw a brewery and saw that one could start actually so small. Um, but he was very friendly to us while we were on vacation, and that kind of resonated with me for a little while, and maybe planted a seed somewhere in my brain that this was something that a normal person could just go and do. That was even before I even started home brewing. Later on, certainly Dave Richardson at Gardner Ale House was kind of took me under his wing, and I did a lot of brewing there, and learned quite a bit from Dave and Ben Roche as well from Wormtown. I initially met him brewing one of my beers that had won a competition at Honest Town when he was brewing in Southbridge, Mass. The short-lived Honest Town brewery. Um,
2 weeks, right?
just kind of ended up, tagging along and doing stuff with him at Wormtown, like the Pro-Am Porter, and so those would be the main ones certainly.
And Keith, I just had a quick. You were one of the first breweries that took advantage of the change in the farmers brewers license to plan as like a specific tap room. I'm just curious. Do you think that's going to lead to opening up a lot of breweries in Massachusetts? A lot of breweries taking advantage that they can do this model. It's basically a brew pub without food. Do you think that will open up a lot of small local breweries that have no aspirations to really expand beyond having people come to their place and drink pints and grab growlers?
I hope so, because most breweries don't do food very well. I've been to a lot of places traveling the country places that make very fine beer and just very mediocre food, and a lot of it is just I think resources are spread too thin. So I think unless you have a culinary partner that has a sort of vision for food, and there are certainly some places that do that very well, it's better off to just kind of focus on what you're good at, and the ability to pour pints as a a profit area is um, makes all the difference in the world. I mean, even a nano can turn a profit if you can sell beer grain to glass. Um, it's I can't think of a reason that you wouldn't want some kind of tap room and the ability to pour pints, unless you're just very averse to the liability aspect
Mhm.
of basically running a bar and the responsibilities and insurance and things that go along with that. It's probably not appealing to some people, I suppose, but um, personally, I just, I like going to bars, and I like sitting at bars, and I, I'm perfectly happy being on the other side of that bar as well.
I mean, and that's good too because it kind of goes along with kind of the camaraderie we're seeing in the craft beer scene is you're good with working behind your own brewery, but you're also good with hopping around other people's bars and breweries, which is still like to this day such a cool thing to see as brewers at other breweries just having beer and because everyone's in the same pool, you know.
Yeah,
So,
certainly, yeah.
but before we let you go, because we need to have you on again, so I don't want to waste your time on one episode where we want to come back when you guys are open to make sure that we can talk about Medusa again. But what are the best ways to keep in touch or to get more information on you guys as you guys progress?
Sure, yeah. Right now, the bulk of our communication is through Facebook. They're easy enough to find on Facebook. We do have a web address right now, which is medusabrewing.com. That pretty much just will point you to the Facebook page or the Twitter feed. And we keep the Facebook pretty well updated. Anything that goes on, we take pictures, post pictures, even if it's boring stuff like giant holes being filled with concrete.
Ooh, wait, yeah. Hey, even the biggest beer geek it will still find some interest in it.
Yeah, if you're into trench drainage, then,
Oh, isn't Norm, huh?
yeah.
I have a little secret for you. I have downloaded every single one of those photos, and then my wallpaper.
Oh man. So yeah, I'll put the links in the show notes. Do we have any more questions for Keith so we can let him go and have part of his Wednesday back? Because I'm pretty sure the Bachelorette's still got a couple minutes left in it.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm just kidding. I was Monday. Who's kidding? I'm married. Leave me alone. Norm, Sean.
No, I think you answered everything that we wanted to know.
Okay, well, Keith, listen, one quick question before we let you go. You have guitars behind you. Do you play?
Oh, I have guitars behind me? No.
Oh, these things? Bow.
I think those are trophies from homebrewing
Amateur
competitions. Anyway.
guitar player, I guess.
Awesome.
Those are tap handles to his kegerator.
Ooh,
That's a great idea.
they're full necks. It's perfect. Awesome. Well, Keith, we'll let you go, and we hope to we can either get down to your brewery or have you back on when you open up, and we want to raise a glass, can or bottle, whatever we have to you guys, and cheers for the future, and we'll talk to you very very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.